Parsha Tetzave is the only parsha in the Torah from the beginning of Sefer Shmos until the end of the Torah in which Moshe's name does not appear. The beginning of the parsha says Ve'ata Tetzave, and you should command. You is a reference to Moshe, but Moshe's name itself doesn't appear. Interesting that Parsha Tetzave always falls out the week of Zayin Adar, the 7th of Adar. The 7th of Adar is the anniversary of the birth and the death of Moshe Rabbeinu. Now, most commentaries explain that the reason why Moshe's name does not appear in this parsha goes back to the story of the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the golden calf. After the Jewish people sin, a terrible sin, in which God feels that they have totally left everything that He has tried to instill into them, Moshe goes up to the top of the mountain, and Moshe davens to Hashem. He begs Hashem. He says, God, please forgive the Jewish people. God's response was, no, I'm not going to forgive them. In fact, God says, I'm going to make you, Moshe, into a great nation, and I'm going to destroy the people. Now, at that moment, Moshe had everything to gain and nothing to lose. He could have had an entire nation named after him. But that's not what leadership is about. Leadership is about standing up for your people, for those who you're representing. And so Moshe goes in front of Hashem and says, I don't want my own people. I want these people. And he begs Hashem, he says, please forgive them. V'im ayin, and if you can't, if you don't want to, then mechenina misifrecha asher kasavta. Erase me from the book that you are writing, i.e. Moshe requests Hashem, please erase me from the Torah. God responds to Moshe and says, wait a second. Es asher chatali yamchenu misifri. I'm going to erase those who sinned against me. Not you, Moshe. You didn't sin against me. I'll erase the Jewish people. Now, ultimately, God did forgive the Jewish people. Vayomer Hashem salachti kidvarecha. Hashem forgave us kidvarecha, as Moshe had requested. But in order to show that a person should be very careful with their words, Hashem takes Moshe's name out of a parsha. And that's explained by the Vilna Gaon and others. The parsha that it's taken out of is Parsha Tetzave, the parsha that always falls out the week of Moshe Rabbeinu's Yurtzeit. Shimon Sofer suggests that there's a totally different way of looking at this. And he says the following. He says, Hashem was so impressed by the dedication and devotion, the Mesiras Nefesh of Moshe Rabbeinu on behalf of the Jewish people, that he decided that he wanted to reward Moshe. Not to punish Moshe by taking his name out of the Torah. Why should he punish him? If anything, what God has is a tremendous leader that is leading his people. Why should he punish them? Instead, God rewards Moshe. How does he reward Moshe? He says, Moshe, one parsha in the Torah, you are going to get to describe yourself, to write yourself. How you want to appear. And Moshe being Ve'ish Moshe Anav Me'od Mikol Ha'adam Asher Pnei Adama, Moshe was the most humble of people on the entire face of the world who ever existed. When God says to him, Moshe, you could write your name, you could describe yourself in this parsha as you wish, Moshe chooses Kedarko, as he would, to make sure that his name doesn't even appear in that parsha. So God says, Moshe, take Parshas Tetzave, call yourself what you want, make yourself sound fantastic, and Moshe says, I can't do that. I'm a humble person. Now that doesn't mean that Moshe didn't know who he was. It doesn't mean Moshe didn't understand internally his greatness. But it meant that Moshe had no desire, nor did he have any need to flaunt his greatness to other people. And so Rav Shimon Sofer says, the fact that Moshe's name doesn't appear in Parshas Tetzave is an expression of the reward that God gave to Moshe Rabbeinu because of his dedication. And what a lesson we can learn from Moshe. We live in a world where we're always trying to put ourselves out there. We're always trying to project the greatness of who we are and of the things that we do, and we do this and we do that, and we perform this mitzvah and we do that mitzvah, trying to let everyone know how great and how wonderful we are, how great and how wonderful our families are. It's wonderful to be that way, to care and to recognize the internal greatness that we have as people. But the lesson of Moshe is that we don't need to flaunt who we are. To understand, to recognize our strengths, the positive aspects of our character, and how we impact and inspire other people is wonderful. But there is no need for us to project our greatness upon anyone else. That lesson is learned from the greatest man who ever lived, Moshe Rabbeinu. And it's a lesson that we can all learn from and strive to be like. Thank you for listening and have a good Shabbos.